Shriman, His Divine Grace Lacy, Bhakti-Vedanta Smaraj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Samastapacharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhudakacharya, Asadhara Siddhi Shri Shriman, His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anantya Koti Vaishnava, Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya, Srila Haridasa Koti Jai, Shri Rup Sanatana Varagana, Shri Jiva Gopala Dashagana, Shri Goswami Guru Ki Jai, Prem to go, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Pranitinanda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasili Gaur, Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna, Gopa Gopinath, Shamakun, Radhakun, Giri Govindam Ki Jai, Matharadam Ki Jai, Vrindavadam Ki Jai, Mayapurdam Ki Jai, Navrikdam Ki Jai, Jagannath Puridam Ki Jai, Ayodhya Ki Jai, ISKCON Ljubljana Ki Jai, Gangamaya Ki Jai, Jumanmaya Ki Jai, Srimati Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Srimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Shri Panchatattva Ki Jai, Shri Gauranitai Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande, well, Slava Zabrani Bhakta, Slava Zabrani Bhakta, Slava Zabrani Bhakta, Slava Shri Guru Shri Gurangi. He's on 78 or 128 or... Gauranga Balite Habe Pulaka Sharira Hari Hari Bolite Naine Babe Nira. When will that time come? When chanting the name of Gauranga, there'll be a shivering in the body. When chanting Hari Hari, then tears will flow from my eyes. When will Lord Nityananda show me his mercy, and all material existence will seem insignificant? When my mind will become purified, then I'll be able to actually enter into Vrindavan. When will I be able to follow in the footsteps of Rupa and Raghunath and be able to experience the conjugal pastimes of Radha and Krishna? Narottam Das Thakur prays, may always become a faithful servant of Rupa and Raghunath. Everyone has a book or knows the song? Go there, just Gauranga Balite have a. You have to play very slowly. What's that?
I'll try.
Okay. Anyone else can try better?
Yes, then.
Who knows how to play mridanga? Okay. Try the best you can. Goranga balite habe pulaka sharira Hari Hari balite naine babe haberira Goranga bolite habe pulaka sharira Hari Hari bolite naine babe nira Arakabeni tai chander karuna hoibe samsara vasana mora kabe tuchahabe Arakabeni tai chander karuna hoibe samsara vasana mora kabe tuchahabe Vishaya chariya kabe shuddhabe mana kabe hama heraba Shri Vrindavana Vishaya chariya kabe shuddhabe mana kabe hama heraba Shri Vrindavana Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoibe Akuti Kabe Hama Bhujabose Yugala Priti Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoibe Akuti Kabe Hama Bhujabose Yugala Pririti Rupa Raghunatha Pade Rahu Morasha Prarthana Koro Ye Sada Narottamo Dasa. Rupa Raghunatha Pade Rahu Morasha Prarthana Koro Ye Sada Narottamo Dasa. Gauranga Bolite Habe Pulaka Sharira Hari Hari Bolite Naine Habe Mira. Gauranga Bolite Habe Pulaka Sharira Hari Hari Bolite Naine Babe Nira. Hare Krišna, Hare Krišna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vishupad Paramhangsa Prabhadakacharya Asidhara Situshi Shiman His Divine Grace Shalasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Haribol Slava Zabrani Bhakta Slava Shri Guru Shri Gurangi Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskadyade Satarne Om Agana Timirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Pandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavams Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakans Vitams Cha Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabando Dagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanshina Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Sudhadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakapa Dhruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patiranam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda Shadwaita Gadadhar Shiva Siddhi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 2, Prayers by the Demigods, text number 15. Garbe pranite devakya Rohinim yoga nidraya Aho Vishram Sito Garba Iti Pora Vichukrushu Garbe Pranihite Devyakya Rohinim Yoga Nidraya Aho Vishram Sito Garba Iti Pora Vichukrushu Ladies. Garbhe. When the embryo, pranihite, was carried from the womb, Devakya of Devaki, Rohinim, to the womb of Rohini, Yoga Nidraya, by the spiritual energy called Yoga Maya. Aho, alas, Vishram Sita is lost. Garba, the embryo. Iti, thus. Pora, all the inhabitants of the house. Vichu Krukshu, lamented. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. When the child of Devaki was attracted and transferred into the womb of Rohini by Yoga Maya, Devaki seemed to have a miscarriage. Thus all the inhabitants of the palace loudly lamented, alas, Devaki has lost her child. Purport. All the inhabitants of the palace includes Kamsa. When everyone lamented, Kamsa joined in compassion, thinking that perhaps because of drugs or some other external means, Devaki had undergone this abortion. The real story of what happened after Yogamaya attracted the child of Devaki into the womb of Rohini in the 7th month of Rohini's pregnancy is described as follows in the Harivamsa. At midnight, while Rohini was deeply sleeping, she experienced as if in a dream that she had undergone a miscarriage. After some time, when she awoke, she saw that this had indeed happened, and she was in great anxiety. But Yogamaya then informed her, "O auspicious lady, your child is now being replaced. I'm attracting a child from the womb of Devaki, and therefore the child will be known as Sankarsana." The word Yoga Nidra is significant. When one is spiritually reconnected, through self-realization, one regards his material life as having been like a dream, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 269. Ya nisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagrati samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashuto mune. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is the night for the introspective sage. This stage of self-realization is called Yoga Nidra. All material activities appear to be a dream when one is spiritually awakened. Thus, Yoga Nidra may be explained to be Yoga Maya. Kri Garbe Pranite Devakya Rohinim Yoga Nidraya Aho Vishram Sito Garba Iti Pora Vishukrushu. When the child of Devaki was attracted and transferred into the womb of Devaki by Yoga Maya, Devaki seemed to have a miscarriage. Thus all the inhabitants of the palace loudly lamented, alas, Devaki has lost her child. Namo Vishnu Hare Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vicharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Patskadyade Satarne. So Bhagavad Gita is a continuous flow of verses, and to understand any verse in Bhagavad Gita, we have to see it in the context of all the other verses. So this verse, Ya Nisha Sarvabhutanam Tasyam Jagrati Samyami Yasyam Jagrati yasyam jagrati samyati sanisho pashuto mune. That what is night for all sentient beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled. And what is night for the self-controlled is the time of awakening for all sentient beings. Let's see if we got that right. Yanisha, so Nisha means the night, Sarvabhut from all living entities. Sa Nisha Sarvabhutanam, Tasyam Jagrati is the time of awakening for the self-control. So what is this referring to? Well, Prabhupada indicates that here, that basically speaking, since we're in conditioned life, we're like in a dream. And those who are in such a dream, they imagine different things in the dream, how the dream can actually be made even nicer than it already is, and how we can avoid unpleasant aspects of a possible nightmare. And therefore, one's existence becomes more or less evolved around the dreamlike state. We can imagine if we were at night, we were dreaming that I had become a princess or a king or something like that. Now, when I'm deeply in the dream, I take it very seriously. It seems quite real to me, and I become very much concerned with my kingdom, whatever it might be that I've invented in my dream. But when we're starting to wake up, and we may notice that I'm dreaming, we realize I'm just wasting my time. It's not really real. Now, it's not real in the sense that it's only temporary. We're experiencing it, and for us, something we experience seems to be real. And then we wake up into this existence, and we take it very seriously, that this is reality. I was dreaming last night, but now I'm in the reality. But when we go to sleep, this reality becomes a dream, if we can remember it, which we usually don't. So then our dream life becomes a reality. So the only difference between our dream and our present so-called waking state is that one lasts a little bit longer than the other. That's all. Otherwise, there's really no difference. Especially in terms of our experience. One seems to go very quickly sometimes, and the other one seems to go a little slower. But in any case, this material existence, even the scientists say, is not what we think it is, because they say that 99% of everything that we see is just space. We're just imagining everything is solid, because that's how our brain works. If we could actually see things as they are, then we'd see things differently. Actually, if we saw everything as it was, we'd see we're in Brahman. And Krishna has transformed Brahman into successively different states of density. Some of Brahman has been transferred into what appears to be ether, which we can't perceive generally speaking. Some of it has been transformed into what we perceive as air. Some of it is being transformed into what we consider to be fire. Some of it is transformed into what we consider to be water, and some is transformed into what we consider to be earth. Simply successive transformations of the same, but it's simply the same element of the same energy, Brahman, being transferred and having a different effect, different properties. Actually, all the properties are there in Brahman, but they manifest in the material world potentially as it gets grosser and grosser, then the potentiality of the different energies is there. Like in earth, there is solidity, there is transformation, there is cohesiveness, there's movement, and there is also space. Well, in water, which is less dense than earth, we don't have smell as we have in earth. Or we don't have the same cohesiveness as we have in earth. Instead, we have liquidity, and we have fire, we have temperature, and we have movement, and we have space. And similarly, in fire, we don't have the same type of solidity, cohesiveness fire doesn't cause things to cohere with each other. Fire transforms things. and has warmth due to its warmth. So fire has warmth, and it has movement, and it has space, but it has no solidity. It has no smell. You can sometimes smell, think you smell fire, but actually we smell fire's transformation, like incense or wood burning. What we actually smell is the wood, not the fire. Did you ever go up to fire and try and smell it? What does it smell? It doesn't smell like anything. So what we're seeing is just transformations of Brahman, because originally everything came from Krishna's effulgence. Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya yasya, and it's being transformed into different forms. Especially we're interested in forms. Now, no sane person usually spends his time just watching water. You want to see what's in the water. People don't go to aquariums to see the water. Generally, most sane people don't turn on the tap and watch it flow out of the tap the whole day. No, they go to see the animals in the aquarium and see what they're doing. So we want to see forms, or the rocks in the aquarium, or the vegetation in the aquarium. We're interested in form. Generally, we're interested in the gross elements. But actually, within the gross elements are just emanations from being manipulated by the energies of Krishna into different seemingly forms, different types of transformations, different types of unity, different types of movements, etc., all being organized under Krishna's will, because he's in charge of Brahman. So, it appears very real to us, but ultimately it's there, just like you may see a snake, and it looks like a snake. But if you get closer, it may look like a rope. So there's a form there, we just don't know what it is, that's all. So we're looking at these forms, and we're imagining what they are. Under hypnosis, we'd probably see things differently, or if we took a certain drug, we'd see things differently. But now we're seeing things, and we think we're actually seeing what's there, but actually we're just seeing according to the modes of nature we're situated under. Just like, to give an example, if a man sees a beautiful woman, he becomes lusty. And if a real brahmachari, sees a beautiful woman, he sees danger. And if a dog sees a beautiful woman, he sees a good meal. Now it's the same woman, but it's a different vision. So who's right, the dog, or the brahmachari, or the lusty man? What's actually there? It depends upon how we're conditioned. And a pure person, he sees Krishna's eternal servant, along with Krishna in the heart, and hopefully that lady is doing some service to Krishna. So he sees a pure servant of Krishna being used as an instrument, and he doesn't see the material energy. He sees that form is actually a manifestation of the spiritual energy, because it's under the spiritual energy. So our business is to try to wake up from this dreamlike state, and how to do that, that's what Krishna's Bhagavad Gita is all about, just to help us wake up. So we can go over the whole second chapter and explain systematically the second chapter, how to wake up out of this dreamlike state. That's what it's for. Now for one who wants to wake up, Yanisha Sarabhuta Tasyam Jagrati Samyami, so one who wants to wake up from this dreamlike state, Bhagavad Gita seems quite interesting. And for one who wants to remain asleep, the philosophy is not very appealing. Why are they shaking me? Just like, if you're asleep, it says even in the 12th and 11th, which canto, I forget. I think it's the 11th canto. It said that Krishna saw his maidservant, and she appeared to be sleeping so he decided to wake her up by shaking her. So that's what the material energy is. We're asleep, and it's meant to shake us so we wake up. But of course, Prabhupada gives the example, if one is actually awake, but he's just pretending to be asleep, then it becomes extremely difficult to wake someone up. If we're actually awake, but someone's trying to wake us up, and we go, oh, leave me alone, I'm asleep. Then you may shake the person as much as you want. Go away, go away. Don't you see I'm just pretending? I don't want to wake up. So the material nature is shaking us, but those who want to enjoy the material nature in spite of any problems it may present to us, they'll never wake up. So one has to develop some desire to wake up out of the illusory energy. And generally speaking, the only way of doing it is to get a higher taste, some other experience which is superior. And therefore, although sometimes we may get lost in the waves of material existence, still we may remember within ourselves that there was another experience I had which was superior, and therefore one may try to go back to that other experience beyond the material energy. So therefore, even a little bit of experience of a higher taste in Krishna consciousness can serve one to gradually make progress out of our attraction to the illusory energy. So Krishna, for instance, he begins the Ayato, he doesn't begin, practically speaking, he goes through the whole second chapter explaining how we're not this body, and then how we have to work without results. Because hankering for some better existence, some material existence, some nice, food or a nice place to sleep, or some meeting with my soulmate somewhere, or, being King Kong or James Bond or something, infallible super soul or Spider-Man, whatever. So we're all dreaming that somehow or another I'll become infallible, I'll be able to control without any impediment. So these are our dreams, and on the basis of our dreams, the basis of what we do, we get a particular gross body to fulfill our subtle desires and what we deserve. So Krishna says that yes, as long as we're hankering for a better existence and afraid of a worse one, then we have to take one body after another. And therefore we should cultivate some knowledge, some awareness. Well, first of all, we should cultivate some idea of duty, and then some idea of knowledge, how to work with awareness in the material world, with spiritual awareness. And then Krishna will go over, because Krishna tells Arjuna, Tani saravani samyamya yukta sita matpara vishehi yasyendriyani tasya pragya pratishtita. That one who restrains his senses and fixes his consciousness upon me is known as a man of steady intelligence. So Krishna gives us the higher understanding. Try to fix the mind upon him. Try to engage the senses in a positive way in Krishna's service. Try to do something to help others awaken their Krishna consciousness. Do something to assist Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. That's called controlling the senses. And at the same time do it for Krishna, to fix our mind upon Krishna. And then Krishna always says one thing, and then he says, well, if this is what you should do, and this is what happens if you don't do it. There's always the carrot and the stick. So the next one is the stick. Dhyayato vishayam pumsam sangaste shupajayate sangas chanjayate kama krodo bhajayate. If we don't engage in Krishna's service, then Maya will say, hey, why don't you engage in my service? You seem to be a little idle. Well, why don't you do something useful, something enjoyable? I got just the thing for you to do that will make you feel so good. Don't worry, I won't embarrass you. You'll appreciate it. This is really special. And then we fall into Maya. After we were an idol, then when Maya attracts us, and then we find the object, but the only thing we really get is lust, and then greed, and then anger, and then delusion, to add on to our present delusion, and then we forget, we can't remember, who am I, what am I doing here? And then we lose our intelligence, we don't know what to do in order to actually get out of our present circumstances, and then we naturally follow the dictation of our senses and mind into further illusion. So therefore Krishna says that what is the problem? This is the problem. Better to engage in Krishna's service, fix your mind completely on Krishna, then you'll be protected. But that implies that we actually we have spiritual experience. We're actually experiencing the bliss and the awareness of spiritual existence, but we're not. We're presently in illusion. We're experiencing material energy to different degrees. Sometimes goodness, sometimes passion, sometimes ignorance. So where's the question of, yes, I'm just going to fix my mind upon Krishna, because we have no taste for it. We have no experience of it. And even we try, it doesn't really necessarily yield immediately a great experience. It just, I see Krishna, I see a tree, it doesn't really affect me. Or I see a little cat, and I get more emotional when I see the cat than when I see the deities. Oh, little cat, ooh, so... We have this little child here, goes around. Everyone gets more emotional over the little child than they do with the deities. We don't say, oh, the deity, oh, so cute. So we have more of an emotional response to the material energy than we have to Krishna. So what can we expect? If we don't have an emotional experience, then how much of a intense experience are we expecting in Krishna consciousness if our emotions aren't involved? Therefore, it's a gradual process of trying to pay attention at least, because that demands that some appreciation in our part that this is potentially a very nice experience, potentially. So therefore we try to pay attention, and we pray. So we're becoming a little humble, a little bit, please let me experience something higher than material existence. So that's an opportunity. So therefore Krishna says, if you cannot fix your mind upon me, then what to do? Because if you don't fix your mind upon me, then sometimes you'll be carried away by the material energy. So what to do? Raga dvesha vimuktaistu vishenindriyastran atmavashavide atma prasadam adhigachati. So try to regulate one's activities in Krishna service. That's why we have sadhana bhakti. Especially we get up in the morning and we chant Hare Krishna, we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, we serve the devotees by chanting and listening to what they have to say. That's also service. It's one of the 6 loving exchanges. And we go to a holy place, or we make the place holy by doing service there. So we at least have the opportunity, our body's there, and maybe we try to put our intelligence and our mind there also. And therefore we go 1 inch, 1 fraction of a centimeter above the material nature, and we see that there's another existence. Not just material existence, there's also something called spiritual existence. And therefore, prasadam adhigachati, one can get some experience, what's called prasad, some experience of Krishna consciousness. Prasanam chetaso yasu buddhipariya bhatishtete. And for one who's so situated, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer, and such intelligence, one's intelligence becomes steady. But then Krishna shows us the other side. That nashti buddhiya yuktasya, nacha yuktasya bhavanaha, nacha bhaviyantak shantira, shantasya kutoksaka. That for one who's not in Krishna consciousness, can have neither controlled mind nor steady intelligence, without which there's no possibility of peace, and how can there be any happiness without peace? So how do we know we don't have a controlled mind or steady intelligence? Well, one moment we see a devotee, even a devotee, and they're our best friend. And the next moment, my mind changes, and they become my worst enemy. And then they become the best friend. They give me a little Mahaprasadam, and my whole mood changes. Because we don't see things properly. And therefore our mind becomes disturbed or peaceful or elated, whatever. Constantly changing manasadeho, deha, yo, kichu more. We don't see things in relationship to Krishna. Therefore we don't have steady intelligence, we don't have a controlled mind, and therefore we're not peaceful. We don't know how we're going to relate to anyone the next moment, if we're going to yell at them or kiss them. We have no steadiness of experience. Just like one devotee was relating when she went to see Prabhupada for the first time, all these ladies were there, and Prabhupada was walking into the temple, and all the ladies, they threw carnations at him, hitting him. Because that's their enthusiasm. I don't know what they thought. But she noted that Prabhupada was completely calm and peaceful. He accepted it on behalf of Krishna, the offerings they were making, and just walked into the temple. Because Prabhupada was not on the material platform. He saw everything as what they were offering. He saw the offering. He didn't see, his false ego being disturbed by the fact they didn't throw it exactly the way he might have preferred. That means steady intelligence. He saw everything as an offering to Krishna that his disciples and devotees were performing. He didn't see it as an attack or a way of... He didn't see the primary thing as somehow or another whether it pleased his ego or not. He saw it simply as his service to Krishna, and he accepted whatever service his disciples and well-wishers were presenting to him, and tried to help them make it better when appropriate. But then Krishna goes on the other side. All right, if you don't have steady mind and control intelligence, then you'll get into difficulty. You won't be peaceful. And then he says, Indriyani charitam yanmano nuvidiyate tadasya harati pragya vayor navam ivambasi. Now here's an analogy. We'll ask everyone to try to figure it out, because I've read it for the last 55 years. I still haven't figured it out. So maybe today we'll figure it out. As the boat on the water is swept away by a strong wind, so even when the roaming senses in which the mind fixes can carry away the man's intelligence. Has everyone got that? So I'll say it slowly. As the boat on the water, so everyone can see a boat on the water. That's the easy part. As the boat on the water is swept away by a strong wind. So you probably can't see the wind, but you can see the boat being swept away. Not difficult. So even one of the roaming senses in which the mind becomes fixed can carry away a man's intelligence. So what's the intelligence in the analogy? Yes, the boat, because the boat's being carried away. And so as the boat on the water, so what's the water? What's that? Okay. Is swept away by a strong wind. So what's the wind? Yes, some kind of desire. So even one of the roaming senses in which the mind becomes fixed. So the roaming senses are compared to what? Must be the wind. Can carry away a man's... So the roaming senses, which the mind becomes fixed, can carry away a man's intelligence. So the desires, the senses, and the mind, when they're just roaming around, trying to figure out what to enjoy, they carry away our intelligence. Anyone ever have experience like that? That sometimes our intelligence is carried away? A few of us do. It's nice to know that we have some pure, unalloyed devotees here, not disturbed at all. So if we start contemplating the objects, and it's automatic, we don't have to think about it. Just like if you're hungry, you see nice gulabjamun. I don't know if you like gulabjamun. If you, or a samosa, and you're hungry, do you have to figure out? Should I be attracted or not? No, it's automatic. It's spontaneous. Matter of fact, everything we look at when we're in conditioned life either attracts us or repels us, or we think it's useless. It's nothing. It has nothing to do with me. We automatically have an emotional response to everything we see, usually except for Krishna. Just like if I said Mickey Mouse. Everyone knows who Mickey Mouse is? Do you know who Mickey Mouse is? I think it's universal. What's that? Yeah, I didn't make it up. So, I don't know, anyone ever watched Mickey Mouse cartoons? Be honest. So we liked them, right? When we were little children, they were enjoyable. They were our life, practically. So now when we hear Mickey Mouse, we remember our past life, as a child, the warm, comfortable feeling, the mouse with the big ears, and his girlfriend, and his friend Goofy, etc. The name, form, quality, and pastimes come spontaneously. Now if I said Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy, then automatically we get more and more absorbed in the name, form, quality, and pastimes. Now if I said Hare Krishna, it doesn't have this, unless we were brought up in some ashram as a pure devotee, or unless we grew up and we watched little Krishna cartoons. It may not have the same emotional response we have for other things that we have experience of in our life. So therefore, when we look around, we get an emotional response. Everything we see, there's some degree of emotional response. And it carries away our intelligence, because if we don't see it in relationship to Krishna, then we see it in relationship to some other material activity that I was performing when I had previous experience with that similar category of objects. Now we add Krishna to the equation by utilizing those objects in Krishna's service, then the result is we get a little bit of a response at the beginning to Krishna. Then we stop seeing things in relation to whether it's going to make me happy or it's a threat to my happiness. We see it as an object of service to Krishna, and therefore as an object of devotion. And it won't carry away our spiritual intelligence. Tasmad Indriyanyano Niyamnya Bharatarshva Papmanam Prahidenam Jnana Nashana. That's another Tasmad verse. Tasmat Tvam Indriyanyando Niyamya Bharatarshva Tasmad Yasya Mahabaho Nigrihinani Sarvasha Indriyartevyas Tasya Pragya Pradishtita. Oh, therefore, Almighty Armed One, whose sense restrained from the objects is certainly of steady intelligence. So we have to guard our intelligence. That's our most precious thing we have to take us out of material existence, is spiritual intelligence. So one who's fixes his in consciousness, which means devotional service. Therefore, Arjuna, one who restrains his senses from their objects, again. One whose senses restrained from their objects is certainly of steady intelligence. So, restraining our senses from their objects means not having some kind of hope that this will make me happy, or some kind of fear that this is going to make me unhappy. Instead, understand everything is under Krishna's control. And one who understands that, then they're awake. One who sees everything as Krishna's energy and as an opportunity to serve him and revive my relation with him, then he's awake. And everyone else is asleep. just dreaming about different ways of utilizing the material energy to get some kind of happiness, squeeze some happiness out of it. Therefore, Krishna says in the next verse, what does he say? First, apurimanam achala pratishtam. I won't go through the whole Sanskrit, we don't have time here. But anyhow, as apurimanam achala pratishtam samudram apa pravishanti yadvat. Tadvat kama pravishanti sarave sashanti manoti nakama kami. One who's not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into an ocean, which is always being filled but is always still, can alone attain peace, but not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. So we can't expect in conditioned life that suddenly my mind is going to become filled with thoughts about Krishna. No, at the beginning, we can never remember Krishna outside of class. We're doing quite well. We're making a lot of advancement. Generally speaking, our minds are filled with all kinds of ideas and thoughts and anxieties and hopes and fears. But the trick is to just watch these things come and go and not get overwhelmed by them. So that takes some knowledge that I'm not this mind. I'm not my senses. And instead to try to find something that is actually I can do for Krishna, and therefore hopefully remember Krishna by doing it with devotion. So one has to stop, because mind in a sense is going to push us in so many directions, but we have to restrain them, not by our desire, by our will, and simply try to find out what I should do for Krishna. What should I do now? Therefore, it's always helpful, make a schedule during the day. How many devotees make a schedule during the day for their... So we know what we're supposed to do. Not that we look at the schedule, oh my God, I'm a slave here. I got to rebel. Revolution! What his Prabhupada said, resolution, revolution, dissolution, no solution. We got to rebel. We got to show our independence. I got to fulfill my desire. I got to be me sometimes. So we have to try to figure out what does Krishna want me to do, and the easiest thing is to write down what Krishna wants us to, all the things we have to do. Otherwise, we're going to forget. Prabhupada wouldn't even talk to his leaders unless they had a notebook and a pad to write things, and a pen to write things down, because we forget. And why do we forget? Because material nature just sweeps our intelligence away all the time, sweeps our memory away, puts us in illusion, and we forget so many things. So we have to write them down and then organize them what we should be doing productively in Krishna consciousness. And what are we trying to do? Vihaya kamayak sarvam pumam strarti nispriha niramo nirhankara sashanti madhigashite. We're trying to give up, first of all, kama, vihaya kamayak sarvam. Give up this desire for material happiness. There's happiness in Krishna consciousness, and even there's seemingly material happiness. We eat prasadam, we go to sleep and dream of Krishna, we even have children for Krishna, we defend Krishna. So many different things is there, but for Krishna is there also. And then there's not kama, there's devotion. Yaksarva pumam charity nispriya. One who gives all desire for sense gratification. All kinds of whimsical desires having nothing to do with reality. And all this hankara, I am this body, and nirmamo, everything belongs that I think is mine, it belongs to me. One who gives him up, then he can actually obtain vihaya kamayak sarvam pumam strati nispriha nirmamo nirhankara sashanti madhigashiti. He can actually attain real peace, and one who's in such a consciousness, even at the time of death, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So it's all quite simple, and Maya makes it all very complicated.
Makes a simple philosophy very complicated, because otherwise, if we saw how simple it was, we'd practically be forced to follow it. But as long as we think it's really vague and complicated, then I'm an innocent victim of the material nature. I really don't have to follow it because I don't know what it is. It's the same thing. Someone's trying to wake us up and we're saying, oh, just leave me alone, I don't want to wake up. Don't give me all this philosophy, it's going to wake me up, and I don't want to wake up, don't you see it? So Krishna, by his mercy, he gives us Maya, and by his mercy, he gives us devotee like Srila Prabhupada, so we can choose sometimes to wake up, sometimes it gets too much, we can go back to sleep again. Everything's available for us. But gradually the higher taste will be there, and gradually we want to stay awake more often as we see how nice reality is. And we will become averse to going to sleep anymore. And therefore one day we'll actually wake up, we'll see how wonderful everything it is. How wonderful Krishna is, how wonderful his devotees is, how wonderful devotional service is, and how wonderful the material nature is to help us wake up and get out of it. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Hvala Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
You're coming back, right? You said they were asking that already, so sure. They were saying about staying in the temple.
I'm ready to go. The membership program. Well, this is presented in college too, but for us, as a criteria for initiation, become a member of those same things in Croatia, like in Croatia, where there are groups.
Yeah, that's
And then, the different groups want to have authorization to recommend the initiation.
So I want to introduce that to my whole name. Beginning with Slovenia, Croatia also. They killed me.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Misliš pomes?
Ja, da se malo ne takšen malo.
Četrtek je, ne?
Danes je nedelja.
Kaj?
Kaj si rekel, če je četrtek?